Okay, so public opinion polls are extremely popular, especially during election season. But a lot of the time they're untrustworthy, so it's important to know the characteristics of the polls that are trustworthy. So the first characteristic is the poll has a random sample of people. If the poll is going to represent the entire overall opinion of the entire country, it can't just poll one certain race, one certain gender, one certain religion, one certain background. It has to include people of all races, all backgrounds, everything. Because the United States isn't just one certain race, one certain religion. So for it to actually represent the country as a whole, you have to have a bunch of different people represented in the poll. The second characteristic is that the questions are not biased. Automatically, if the question is leaning one way or the other, or it contains loaded words, that poll isn't trustworthy, because the wording of the question, a biased question, will make the people kind of answer in a way that they might not if the question wasn't biased. So having just unbiased, neutral questions is the sign of a trustworthy poll. Another characteristic is a large sampling. Again, if the poll is going to represent the country, the entire country, there needs to be a lot of people polled, not just 1,000 or even 10,000. Like, there's got to be a lot of people polled for it to actually give an accurate representation of the country and how the country feels. If the poll is just for a high school, 1,000 people would be fine. So the number of people interviewed or polled needs to match or kind of like make sense with the topic of the poll. Fourth characteristic is the poll lists when it was polled. If there is no date, people don't know when the poll was given, opinions change all the time. So it's really untrustworthy and not good if the poll doesn't have its date listed, because something could come out a week later and then a bunch of people's opinions change. So it's really important to know when that poll was given. Also, another characteristic is who conducted the poll. Again, there are a lot of untrustworthy sites when it comes to polling, political polling. A lot of them are biased. They target certain people, and so it's important to really know what organizations and websites are trustworthy for a political poll. And so some of the ones I found were the American Association for Public Opinion Research and also Research America. Those seemed pretty trustworthy to me because right on the homepage of the website, it lists their mission statement. I mean, there was just no information that was hidden. Like, everything was out in the open. It didn't seem shady at all. So you kind of just have to look and kind of make a decision for yourself if you think it's trustworthy or not. But polls are very important. Taking them are very important because they're used by politicians. Politicians use the polls to get an overall, reading of the country. It's important for politicians to know the opinions of the people that they're going to be representing. If they didn't know the opinions, that doesn't make any sense. So it's important for them to know what side the people are on, what they feel really strongly about, what they don't really care about. That's really important. Another thing is saliency, which is how diffuse an opinion is over demographics and geography. It's important for the politicians to know what their demographics are, location of where their supporters are. For example, if a politician is really well liked in New York, they're gonna spend a lot of time in campaigning really making sure that New York stays on their side and everything. Whereas if the politician is completely hated by the people of Arizona, he's not going to spend a lot of time in Arizona, if any time, because the people don't like him to begin with. So it's important to know who to target, where to target, to put their time and advertising. Also for stability and fluidity, which is how constant or changing an opinion actually is. Opinions, like I said before, change all the time, so it's really important for politicians to pay attention to the polls to understand the changing opinions of the people. Also intensity, which is how deeply or passionately a group feels about a certain issue. Let's say that the certain politician is really wants to focus his campaign on environmental policy. He's going to target the people of the EPA, maybe certain states that are more environmentally friendly, or certain groups that are more environmentally conscious. He's going to target those certain groups to make sure he really has their support. So it's important for him to know where that intensity for that certain environmental policy, for example, is. Also for latency, which is how likely an issue is to emerge in public dialogue. A politician isn't going to get very far, with his campaign if he's only focusing on things that the American people don't care about. So it's important to know what the American people are actually talking about, what they actually care about, what they want to hear about, certain topics and issues that they want to hear about. So the politician can use that to kind of build his campaign around topics that are actually the American people actually care about. And then lastly, distribution, which is how widely among diverse sectors an opinion is held. Again, it's kind of the same thing as saliency, like knowing where the opinions are held, so that way the politician knows where to visit during the campaign, where not to visit. It's also good for the swing states. The polls can kind of point out what states are going to be swing states in that certain election, so that way the politician can go to those swing states and hopefully swing it in their direction. Polls are also very important because they dictate what the media covers. They influence what the media covers. The media will only cover topics that the American people show interest in, or they'll only talk about certain people that the American people seem interested in. Or, if they didn't talk about what the American people want them to talk about, they wouldn't be in business. So the media really does pay attention to polls and how people answer them, and they focus on who's answering them. That way they know what to talk about, what topics to really focus on, and what topics to not talk about if the American people don't show much interest in that certain topic. So overall, a lot of people shy away from taking public opinion polls, and I understand. I've never taken one myself. Because a lot of they get a bad rap. A lot of the time they're really not super trustworthy. People just don't want to put their information in something if they don't know if it's trustworthy or not. But it's important to take them, the trustworthy ones, because they do influence politics. How the people answer the polls will influence politics and make politics go in the direction that the people want. So, thank you.